Welcome, viewer, wherever you are. This is the Cardinal talk show that comes to you every Sunday night. Now it is on. And it's on just to give you the insight of what's happening locally in terms of politics and even internationally. Today, as usual, I've got guests here who will give us more and more info about the happenings of the week, more especially about alliances and counter-alliances. It's now time for political repositioning. It's time to show what you can do. It's time to flex muscles. And I can see every politician, everybody's gearing to succeed Uhuru Kenyatta, pulling one another's leg. And, this is a testament to one fact, that the succession politics is here and it can only get murkier. It will only get very interesting. And that's why I've got with me here two gentlemen who will give us all this in perspective. My name is Nick Okello. Please do join us in the conversation on our social media platform that is Facebook, it's Lolwe TV. Twitter handle, it's at Lolwe TV. Or you can get it on hashtag The Cardinal Talk Show. Yes, I want to bring you on board, gentlemen. I hope and believe that you've had a wonderful week that has just ended. And it's time now to look at the week like it was. And before that, it's time to first of all mention who are in this panel. So I'll start on my right. And this is a time that we're going to give you, sir, to just let viewers understand who is this that they're going to be talking, who's going to be talking to them in the next 40 or so minutes.
My name is Kennedy Otieno Osutwa. I'm an electoral expert, and I'm very happy to be here today with Nick so that we can share what has been going on in the country for the last 1 week.
Thank you very much. As you've heard, yes, electoral expert. When elections are mentioned in this country, every angle, it takes different angles depending on where you think elections are good or bad. It's a very interesting job to always want to undertake. Yes, over and above that, it's now on my left, and I want to bring in a guest that is not very new to you guys. He's been a regular panelist here. However, it's time for you to say hi to our viewers.
Thank you for the honor of the invitation, Nick.
Yeah.
My name is Paul Aol, a practicing advocate, and as always, I'm happy to join other Kenyans as part of this discourse.
Thank you very much. Yes, we now have a lawyer and we have an electoral expert in this discussion. However, they are all politicians in their own right, and that's why you're bringing them on board. Gentlemen, it's been a week of so much political intrigue, especially when it comes to alliances and counter-alliances. At one point, everybody saw Oparanya meeting Ruto over last weekend, and again, before it even, subsided, it was again Gideon and Muho with Raila, and it's been a seesaw kind of thing. I don't know exactly what it means, but it seems everybody is on the drawing board trying to figure out the route plan for 2022 succession. And I want to bring you in, Wakili. What is it that's happening? Because every other end is pulling, and they are pulling, trying to convince everybody. Please join my side, join my corner.
I think we begin from a very simple aspect that resources are scarce in this country. Whatever we have as what we call the national cake is not enough for everybody. As such, it means that people have to come together, plot, and see how either they get those resources or they allocate those resources as they pursue power. That technically means that you sit down, you look at your support base, you look at what you have, and if you realize that that is not enough to get you to the point of either giving out those resources or protecting those resources, then you look for who thinks the same way you think, or who can you team up with to ensure that you get the highest number of votes to be the one in charge of the resources in this country. As such, it means that politicians have to talk, they have to share the ideals they have to put their cards on the table, and they have to look at who can support who based on what. And I think that is what is going on, because the truth is We have about a year. And you know, Kenyans also, they have to see something, because you also have to even get the message you're going to take to them. So I think that's why there is a lot of movement, who is talking to who, so that they get to see who will be in whose corner when the time comes.
Yes, Mr. Ken Osutua, it's your time now. What is interesting, because you look at the angle that is taken. At one point, everybody thought that, One Kenya Alliance pitting Mudavadi, Kalonzo, Gideon, and Wetangula was actually the deal. Before it even got to its, its starting point, we see it's like there's a feeling it's again crumbling down under the weight of expectation and alliances.
Thank you, Nick. I think the main problem that all of us face as Kenyans, mostly the politicians, is the view of getting what is called a rally call towards transition. Every transition must have a rally call. The rallying call means that when I am wherever I am, from whichever place I come from, then I need to have something that will make my people vote. You can only vote through alliances, because all of these people who are gambling together, they are all regional leaders. And any regional leader will always get a rally call that will make their people come out of their hiding places to go and vote. So what the alliances means is that, can I get a rally call for Kambani? Can I get a rally call from Luoland? Can I get a rally call from Loyaland? So it is in search of rally call. Remember, we always have that rally call on rallying call on how to manage a transition. We know very well that the president's time is ending. So if his term is ending, then how do we get people from our sides? So there are very many challenges, very many views, very many points that each and every person among those who are meeting have. They have the strengths, they have the weaknesses. If I know mine, then I'll want somebody else to come and help me aid that mine. Mine could be on numbers, mine could be on stronger political party, association, and how do we make it so that we go out together. We get a rally call that will make people vote and help the sitting president manage transition. I'll explain later, maybe, if you allow me, how it is important for the sitting president to have a view and a point on how he will manage transition. Any transition that is not well managed, they always make the country go to the dogs. And sometimes it is still very, very important in all of us to help the president manage the transition. Seeing those alliances are important, but they can only be very important to ordinary Wanjiku and Achieng and Ukelo if they are given common rally call that we are voting for this.
Well put. Wakili, still on alliances. Yeah, there's this One Kenya alliance thing that came up. We don't know what alliance again would be coming up. But recently, from the look of things, it seems somebody has ignited every other base, and it's now, it sounds like nobody seems to be trusting one another. At one moment, Oparanya meets Ruto. The following day, Gideon meets Raila. And these are seriously opposing sides. Is there a point where we can say it's a convergence point for all competing alliances and interests? Because when Raila oscillates on this other end feels that they must get him. When he gets to the other end, this other end feels the same. Does this mean Raila is becoming now the center of alliances? Is he actually in the very thick of succession plans?
Nick, I think the first thing that we need actually to understand is that politics is about the pursuit of power. You are trying to pursue power, and for you to pursue power, it means you have to convince people with ideas. You have to make people see things the way you see, and you want to be in the vehicle that you know will get to the podium as number one. You see, the biggest problem we have with democracy is that somehow the winner takes it all. To mean if you don't end up in the winning side, then somehow you're in the cold for 5 years. So it means that, one, you have to explore your options. First of all, get to see who can I work with and at what level will I be working with this person, so that we ensure that once that vehicle gets the power, then you're also in it, such that if there's an agenda, like let's say you are keen on environmental issues or you are keen on constitutional issues, you ensure that those issues are covered within that framework or the timeline that person is covering that. So yes, I tend to think that, first of all, Mudavadi, Wetangula, and Gideon thought that they could work together, and it was possible for them to win over the presidency, because the presidency is what now that real power is. But I think it ignited the season where other people also, or other players also, started saying, it seems now time for people to start talking. And I think maybe, sorry to say, it did not ignite passion. You know, passion is the rallying call is talking about, that an alliance must ignite passion. People must see it moving from one point to another. You know, the real truth is that it's not as easy as people think. For example, we have 290 constituencies. You can't be the president of this country without having or being part of an alliance that can win at least even 150 parliamentary seats. To mean that if you are Raila and you can only manage 80 or 90 constituencies, then you must do an alliance with Nick, who can bring 20 or who can bring 30. And that is how people build. And it's not something that is only common in Kenya. You look at Israel, look at Germany. People talk, people agree, because democracy is about the majority. To mean you have to convince somebody, like they have to come, like if you are interested in running, they have to come and tell you why should you forgo your ambition and back them. And then they also have to tell you why you forgo your ambition, because there are also people who had interest in you being the president. So what is in it? Yeah, what is in it for them? So I tend to think, and I'll tell you, this is just the beginning. People will talk, because you can't also assume that if Muho and Gideon go to see Raila, that they'll agree on the issues that they've put on the table. Or if there's Wetangula, Kalonzo, Gideon, and Mudavadi, that they'll agree on, first of all, how to win, what is the strategy of winning, and who will be the key person, whom will they present to Kenya. Because at the end of the day, most of those people are mature politicians. They know what it means to be in the cold for 5 years if you miscalculate in your pursuit of power. So I tend to think there'll be so many talks going on, or maybe there are already so many going on that maybe we've not gotten wind of or have not yet been made public. But yes, this is the season, and as you know, real alliances that now you will say this is it, will come almost 3 or 2 months the general election. As at now, people are still taking positions. It's still too early. It's still a dance where people are.
He says it's the numbers. Democracy is about numbers. And we're now looking, help us understand, where do you see the numbers? Because these individuals represent numbers. Yeah, we know we talk about Mudavadi, even if we go by the statistics that we had for the general elections from 2013 to this moment, we know who commands what, who would convince who, and what numbers. In this context right now, who in your view, or how many in your view have this capacity? Say, who will bring numbers? You know, it's about numbers. Yeah, like he says, you can't go into an alliance and you don't bring anything. Yeah.
Thank you, Nick. The reason that why you see very many alliances getting attracted towards Raila is that, one, Raila has some advantages which other aspirants may not have. One is the regional bloc. 2 is the age factor. 3 is that he has been running since 1997. So he knows which buttons to touch. 4 is that this country has a lot of history when it comes to elections. and we know who makes Kenya. Yeah, there are families that are adored. They have made other families, so the people believe in them. Those are the factors that people are looking at. Now let's come back to what Wakili has mentioned about my rally call, the way I started it. Now, if you look at it now, Raila already has a clock of following that is very stable. When we are
is it stable to date?
It is still very stable to date. Because, why am I saying that? Back to history, Nick, we are talking about Odinga-ism, Kenyatta-ism, and Moi-ism. When it comes to politics, you need to look at what is called Odinga-ism. Meaning there are very many people he has created. And to use the modern word is that when you are close to Raila, you get sanitized.
Sanitization even for all the wrongs you've done.
Even for all the wrongs, go back to history and look at Mudavadi. When Mudavadi was out of Raila, he had all the baggage and whatever that you would call them. He carried them all. When he came back, why are we getting sanitized when we are next to Raila? And that's why the kingmaker now, the girl now in the block, this kind of a house, within this new estate called Kenya, the only girl whom everyone will want to associate with is Raila Amolo Odinga. So those are the reasons.
I mean, they've always had this association with him, but it's never come to any success. Of all the attempts they've had, of everything that has always happened, people coalesce around Raila, and he's a serious mobilizing factor in this country. But then, to what avail anyway?
Success might be discussed at a later age or a later time. I mean, we may discuss sometimes late next year when you call us here with Wakili. We will revisit this.
Yeah.
As things stand now, as things stand today, remember, I happen to be the BBI head of secretary in Lolwe County. Mm-hmm. Before we started, the BBI was started. Remember, no one knew that Rift Valley would vote in support of BBI. Yeah. When Raila was somewhere in Lowland, he said there will be a Black Tuesday, where Super Tuesday,
yeah,
where all these counties will be able to pass the BBI. When he was mentioning that, there's something he meant. That indeed what I have today is more than what you people think that I am made up of. There's a certain material that Raila is made up of. And that's why I talked about managing transition. Managing succession for the current president, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, is very, very important, right? That becomes the key and the game changer in all. I've told you and I'm still repeating, Raila has an advantage of age. Yeah. If you want to manage transition, then you really need to look at age. Why are we looking at age? The age of Raila currently, it can only go not beyond 10 years.
True, yeah.
If we put it plain 5. If we put it plain 5, then it will give Uhuru Kenyatta a chance of looking at other leaders that he may like. And that's why he was sending those signals of those other alliances. Well, how did you call them, Wakili? You call them what? Those Cerelac alliances. The reason why we are doing that is that we need to test which level, which portion are we really fitting when it comes to terms of power. And the main girl here is Honorable Raila Odinga. Why? Age. He can only do 5, then we leave. And remember, even Ruto now, Ruto is chancing 2022. His aim is 2027.
I mean, you can't say that. Ruto is prepared and is going for presidency in 2022. Exactly. Actually, he is the deputy president. One. Number 2, he's been working on this and strategically he's been in it for nearly 5 years. So I think and I believe that anyway, at this moment, to say that William Ruto is not a serious candidate in 2022 is far-fetched. And I don't know why.
Leak, I'm not saying he's not serious.
Yeah.
I'm only saying, and I'm still repeating that, and I'll defend it, come 2022. The aim of
come 2022 or 2027.
Come 2022, I'll still prove to you what I'm saying today. Remember, Nick, I've told you I'm an electoral expert. Yeah. Even in 2013, the Uhuru Alliance was by chance. They didn't believe they could win, and that's why they were crying in churches. They didn't believe. It was a surprise for them to win. What they were aiming at was another 5 years so that they have time to prepare. The Ruto chances of 2022 is still a chance, and that is why.
Wakili, let me bring you in on this. Can you weigh in?
Before you bring Wakili,
can you weigh in on this?
No. Before you bring Wakili, let me explain. Before you bring in Wakili,
no, because of time. Yes, I want to bring Wakili because of time.
Let me just explain 2 minutes.
Just 1 minute, sir.
The reason why Ruto is chancing. Look, the moment he lost the BBI, and all the MCAs supported BBI. What did he say? The only party he can talk to is ODM. Why did he say that? He said that because he knew he could not make it alone. He needed somebody. And remember, all along it was the hustler nation. In the interview of Ruto yesterday, he repeated the same thing. The only party I can talk to is the ODM. What is ODM if not Raila Amolo Odinga?
Ruto is chancing?
I tend to think, first of all, I don't think we can dismiss him realistically, because if you look at who have the real chance of ending up as the president of this Kenya, it is Raila and Ruto, in whichever order. You can't really say.
Isn't it Ruto who
yes,
actually
the real chance?
Yes, away from
yes, the real chance. I can say the real chance in their own name. It's two people who have real chance in their own name. Raila Odinga and William Ruto.
You don't see anything in the Kenya Alliance?
Nick, I'm born very realistic. I can actually tell you. You look at statistics. In my field, you don't just argue. You look at statistics. For example, I've said there are 290 constituencies. Out of these 290 constituencies, the combined number of parliamentarians out of those 290, one Kenya Alliance doesn't even get to 40. And I don't see where else they'll get. For example, Wetangula is the only elected senator of Fort Kenya. Out of 47, Fort Kenya has only one senator. So
who is Wetangula?
Who is Wetangula?
And he's also a principal in that
and he wants to run. Because you see, it's all about numbers. Because let me say, however nice you have a formula for devolution, you need to go and convince, first of all, you need to sell it within your party so that it is owned. Then now you go and convince other parties that this is what it means. It's meaning that you need numbers. You need to go and tell the other people that as the 17 of us or as the 19 of us, we've already taken this position. For us to get more numbers, we need the 10 of you, and this is the give and take in you. And I can tell you, look at, for example, look at the number of, that's why I say that we can't also dismiss William Ruto. Look at the number of parliamentarians he's able to get to see things the way he sees things. They're quite a number. Or look at the areas they have the support base. Like I can tell you, William Ruto can move in Nairobi, and you can get to see some numbers behind him. No offense, but I'm also a realistic person. Take Gideon Moi to Modorwa. Take Gideon Moi to Dandora. You don't really get to see the traction or the passion that we really want to come and listen to what he has to say. Or they've also never done it for a reason. They are more of press conference people where they issue threats and they don't really get to see. You don't really get to see the movement, or you don't really get to see them winning over Kenyans to identify with those issues. Because I can tell you, if they had the real numbers, and like I've said, in my field, you argue with what is practically there. If they had really those numbers, I don't think Gideon Moi would have failed not to get Baringo as a county assembly. For BBI. If he had those numbers, Raila delivered all the counties that had governors who supported ODM. To mean that at least the places he comes from, people listen to him. You can't really say that of some leaders in the
So it remains Raila and Uhuru in your perception?
In my perception, there are only 3 real political houses that people listen to in this country at the moment. Politics is a cloud that keeps changing. Maybe next week people will be with my friend, or people will be with Gideon Moy, or people will be with regular. But as things stand right now, the three people who Kenyans listen to, and I can say 95% of Kenyans either listen to Uhuru, Raila, or Ruto. In fact, I'll be surprised if One Kenya Alliance can even get 5% that is remaining.
Well, it seems a serious indictment on One Kenya Alliance. That one is a huge beating that One Kenya Alliance is getting here. Realistically, like he says they don't have the numbers to actually make any impact politically. How it stands, nobody knows, nobody understands, but then it's their own view. And again, they say it's only Uhuru, Ruto, and Raila who would make political statements as it is currently. We are going for this short break. When we come back, don't miss out. It's getting even more juicier, and this is going to be telling us just how politics is headed in 2022, because politics defines life. And then we've got to leave politics anyway. Don't go away. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, back again. We are here, and it's the Cardinal talk show that comes to you on LTN every Sunday. And you know, when we talk about matters Cardinal talk, it is Cardinal. These are matters that you can't get ventilated so much deeply without emotions. It's a very sober discussion of facts about politics and what surrounds politics. What we are building right now, what we want to get and know right now is that, yes, we've heard from the pundits here that, you know, it's about Raila, Uhuru, and Ruto in the next elections. And then there is this aspect of Uhuru not working with the Ruto, who is his principal deputy. Then there's also this aspect of Raila having been such a long-time sworn enemy of William Ruto. William Ruto looks at Raila as a nemesis, a political nemesis. And times are very interesting. Right now, they seem to be gravitating towards one another. And like this, politics is about interest. It's not about any other thing. It's not an enmity. And this is what actually leaves me wondering what politics is all about. Mr. Sutwa,
yes.
I want you to weigh into this. Just imagine a situation where Raila and Ruto team up. They say it's going to be a sweeping victory for them. But then, how would the arrangement be? There are only two positions constitutionally as it is right now. Forget about the BBI. It's not born yet. How would it fit into the scheme of things? Because Wakili said here that we must actually have concessions, and you know, we have to endorse and concede where it's possible. They win here, lose here. Who in this arrangement? Ruto has done his 10 years as a deputy president. Constitutionally, he can't run again for that position. Raila is out there in the cold as an opposition leader.
Thank you, Nick. I think in pro-Ruto Raila alliance, then the chances are over 80%. The reason why I'm saying the chances are over 80%, look at the current spread of MPs. Ruto is already controlling over 140 MPs. Out of 290, what are we talking about? You look at the balance, then you will be able to know. That is why in any alliance that is formed by Ruto and Raila, there is a sure bet. There are other challenges that might be facing the other wing. Because the other wing, the only stronger person...
Which wing now?
The wing that would remain, in case Raila and Ruto...
Any wing
that would remain.
Yeah.
When you take Raila and Ruto together, out of it, it means you will be leaving the current president forming another alliance to switch whoever he wants from the other end. Then they will be remaining by about 20 to 30% of the numbers that we are talking about. The reason why I'm saying that Raila-Ruto alliance is on, look at the current MPs, you will be able to know. Look at how, in terms of mobilization, Raila is able to mobilize. And the mobilization of Raila takes a chance of people volunteering to come out Raila rally.
Yeah,
Route?
that is clear.
Yes.
What I want you to now talk about is how would it be arranged? How do you arrange this coalition? How do you arrange this alliance? Let's assume all of them are what we call pre-election coalitions.
Yes.
Just how will it look? What I want you to tell me in no uncertain terms is Ruto the presidential candidate and Raila is running mate, because there are only two positions.
Okay, I was coming to that link. I need to make it very clear. I'd told you that Raila has advantages that no any other candidate in Kenya has. Why? Uhuru Kenyatta, the president of the Republic of Kenya, is exiting. When he exits, then what remains? There will be a vacuum. Whenever that vacuum remains, you need to look at somebody else who will be managing the tribal transition. Because there is an arrangement here which Uhuru and Ruto are trying to balance. The first president was a Kikuyu. The second president, a Kalenjin. Are we together? The third president, a Kikuyu. And the fourth president, a Kikuyu. There's that balance. Whoever will come in to break it would automatically fit in whoever we are calling the Raila Amolo Odinga presidency. And the reason why he is the girl that everyone is looking at is terms of age. If you give it to Raila now, you'll be able to manage 2027. And that's why I told you that Ruto is very keen and he has softened his hooves towards Raila. For one thing that is looking at managing 2027. Whoever will be able to manage Raila now and give it to Raila to run it for 5 years will manage 2027. If by any chance that we give it to a young person, then this country might really face it rough. Why? That person will be young. He must do 10 years. And whenever he's doing 10 years, he must make sure that his people are rooted. And that is why current arrangement between Ruto and Raila can only take Raila as a president. Why? He has a short time and a short
And then how do you deal with Ruto, who constitutionally has exhausted his time and can't be just left there to just be an overlooker? Will not be overlooking things from the fans.
You might not even deal with Ruto as such, because what we are calling the Kenyan constitution is already manipulated. Because if you go back to that, Wakili will be able to explain, then Uhuru and Ruto reign as a pair. Then it means if Uhuru cannot run, then Ruto cannot run. So don't go back to the constitution here. It is the people's will.
People's will never supersede the constitution, because the people's will is the making of the constitution. I believe, I'm not a lawyer, but I believe this constitution you talk about actually derives its relevance from the very people who now can't run or can't overrun it again in terms of exercising the same powers that are not within the constitution, Wakili. Mr. Soto says Ruto is somewhere there, dangling, I don't know where, but we know constitutionally Ruto cannot run as a deputy president again. Is it right?
Nick, you tend to assume a number of things. One of them is that you tend to assume that in coalition building, personalities are the end game. It's possible that Raila and Ruto can do an alliance of ODM and UDA. And they can even agree, like you'll realize, look at Israel, look at Germany. They agree as parties, and it's the parties to present. It's not a matter of life and death that Raila and Ruto must be on the ballot, because they can agree that if our interests and the interests of the people we pursue are reflected and are able to be implemented in the new dispensation, then it is not a must that we be the implementers. I can tell you that, and I think that's where the new world is going, where people agree and people say, let us think beyond personalities. Let us think. Like, look at, and that's why I've always said that, look at the things Raila Odinga has managed to pursue. He's managed to achieve them without actually being the president or occupying a policy position in government. Like, for example, if we manage to pass, Raila is keen on devolution. He first of all managed to rally and us have a document, a new constitution that allowed us to have counties. He was not in government. He was not there. Right now, whether you are from Wajir, whether you are from Migori, whether you agree with the president or you don't agree with the president, at least there's 15% that must come. You remember during Moi's time, development would only come to your area if you manage to get the eye of the president and bootlick him. So I still believe that it's possible to build coalitions without personalities and agree. Because maybe, let's also be honest, I know politics is selfish, but I know it's also possible to think beyond and say, fine, our people are keen on this. We will support you as president, but also be keen and assure our people that if it is devolution that we want, if it is industrialization that we want, if it is the building of roads that we want, if it is, and these things can be very simple. They can be simple as even keeping campaign pledges.
In this very context.
Yes, they can be as simple as saying that we want level 5 hospital. If you can give us level 5 hospital, we will vote you into
You've
office.
been here long enough to understand that all these agreements, all the MOUs written, the Kibaki, Raila MOU, all these things are never implemented. And in our context as Kenya,
I don't
it is
think
only
so.
what you go for. Now, in this context of Uhuru and Raila,
I don't think so. For Ruto and Uhuru was implemented, and I think you could even get to see, and I'm very honest, in this government of Ruto and Uhuru, you are able to see and say this person was brought by Uhuru, this person was brought by Ruto, and you could even see how or where their loyalties
but
are.
because Ruto has been a deputy president.
I tend to think that, yes, there was a time where there was no law that would guide alliances and political agreements. Right now, actually, alliances and political agreements are deposited with the register of the political parties. And there are things, and no, there are things that, like for example, let me tell you something. Yes, I can tell you, if the NASA coalition is still existing.
It exists.
Yes, is what I'm saying. If it is still existing, because you see, you can't force it. There are other partners in NASA. There's ODM, there's Wiper, there's ANC. First of all, you need to ask them, are they first keen on it? If they're still first keen on it, then there are certain arrangements that they agreed that will come into effect into 2022. But now, how can you say that they're still existing when you can see Wiper, you can see ANC, you can see Ford Kenya already forming another alliance called One Kenya Alliance, and they also still want to insist on what was agreed in the NASA alliance. I think if it is possible, and they say that we are still in the NASA alliance, and what we agreed then must come into effect right now, then yes, the register of the political parties will tell them that yes, this was the alliance, you people agreed, and we need honest people in our politics to keep our. But I think they've already moved away from it. But also, I can also tell you, because you tend to say that it's not actionable. To be honest, if you look at the NASA alliance, they agreed that in the event that this position arises in Parliament, who will be the leader of majority or minority? In the event that we get this position, in which area? Or in the event that we even agree about nomination, like you'll realize, look at even how they nominated members into the Senate, into the county assemblies, into the Nene. It is that same document that guided them and said, our numbers are this, we will nominate 5, and out of this 5, we will give you 3, or we will give you 2, or we will give you 1. Like for example, and maybe this is not, Wetangula, Ford Kenya, was able to nominate somebody into the Senate because of the NASA alliance, coalition alliance. Because Ford Kenya only had 1 elected member of the Senate. Yes, it is only through that NASA alliance that we were able to say that, okay, let's combine all our numbers. How many are we supposed to nominate? And while they were there, NASA agreed and said, fine, ODM, we will take 2 or 3, Wiper, we will take this number, and Ford Kenya will also take
that's the
this
arrangement you're talking about, then no problem. I want to bring you up to, I want to bring you and ask you, then there's the Uhuru Kenyatta factor in this whole thing. Because whether these alliances are mooted today or not or later, the Uhuru Kenyatta factor has to be here. Is the president is going to be handing over in less, say like 15 months to come, and is keen on leaving a Kenya and a legacy to people that think, or in his thinking, are people who can really take this country forward. Now, what is the role of Uhuru Kenyatta in the succession plan, rather, or in the next sort of alliances? Because he seems to be having everywhere apart from Ruto now.
Thank you, Nick. I just want to start from where Wakili has left, is that Any alliance that is going to be formed before election, that is pre-election arrangements, most of them end when the particular alliance does not get to power. Because remember, they agree on how, whatever they will be able to do when they get to power. In a case they fail to get, then what next? It means that that alliance might not really exist. Because you agree with me and with the president. I don't become the president. What follows next?
Fallout.
Fallout. It is automatic. It's automatic fallout. You agree that I support you for 5 years or 10 years, then you come and support me. And I'm not there to really win it. What happens next? That is the thinking. Let me come back to the question that you asked, where Uhuru Kenyatta is as we stand currently. He has started by telling you that sometimes we feel and we know that it is very difficult to manage transition. The president currently is leaving the office honorably. It is in the constitution. He has to go. When he goes, then what next? Management of transition sometimes is a delicate affair. It needs those who are crafty and able to think within the line so that they know, when I leave, then what next? I was giving you an example. The late President Moi never thought that he would leave without leaving the current power to the person he thought was to be. That was 202. To him, he didn't manage the transition the way he thought it would be. And only that he was a humble president. That's why he said Uhuru back and handed over. If he was not humble and his candidate failed, then we would be talking about a crisis in Kenya. He didn't do that. Kibaki left it honorably because they had a calculative affair in that I leave, then this one comes in. And you saw how President Uhuru was brought in as a finance minister, then later brought in as a deputy prime minister. Yes, meaning was being prepared to power. So by the time the president was leaving, and remember, he was even an opposition leader. Yeah, he left all those and joined the government. So there was a clear transition. And I told you that when they were going into it in 2013, they were chancing. Now, in 2022, Uhuru Kenyatta did not want a chance. He wanted a way out on how to leave power smoothly to the would-be friends, not enemies. It is only coming to power now that he must have 3 things. 1, he needs to have the capital, which he has. Uhuru Kenyatta lacks the people.
What do you mean? What do you mean lacks the people?
Wakili has just told you a few minutes ago, Nick, don't forget, that if a meeting is called in Oroma today, and that meeting is called by Raila Odinga, how many people would you see? Without payment. If
Are you suggesting Uhuru is an unpopular president?
You all know it as I know it, that you only need these 3 things. I'm repeating.
I'm asking you a question.
Yes.
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 Uhuru, according to you, is an unpopular president.
He was even in the beginning. Why do you doubt it? Remember,
what you're saying doesn't add up. Is done 2 times. How is he unpopular?
Nick, it adds up. What brought in the handshake? Remember, Uhuru competed against Kenyatta. Are we aware of that? Uhuru competed against Kenyatta. Are we aware of that?
Okay, whatever it means, it's your take for that.
No. The number 2 who could have competed with Uhuru according to the court was Raila Odinga, is it? Yeah. Did Raila go for the second election? Don't forget, it is only 4 years. So after Raila boycotting, what took up? Uhuru competed against Kenyatta. He competed against himself. And because he was lacking that legitimate leadership, this is what brought in handshake. It was building bridges initiative. The bridges were being built to where? It is not the Canaan that we are talking about. It is the Canaan who we are the people. We are the people who he was building the bridge on. So that it can lead legitimately. And that's why I'm saying today that sometimes it is very difficult for anybody to come in if Uhuru fails to manage transition well. Why? If he fails to bring in the Ruto or the Raila, and him himself, it will be very difficult. He has to know how to manage these 2 people. Leave alone the blue band people we are talking about. It might not really work. It is up to these two people. Because the people we are talking about are the people who can call in a rally. Whether paid or not, it doesn't matter. I know the argument somebody else will be able to play with that. Some rallies are being paid. But I'm telling you today, if Uhuru Kenyatta calls for a rally in Uhuru Park, himself, without Ruto, without Raila, I'm wondering how many people will be able to attend, whether paid or not. Remember there was a rally that was called in Kasarani, my brother, immediately after elections. How many people came in? So you need to look at these things practically, and then you look at it. Wakili told you, if Ruto today goes to Roma and he says, I'm Ruto, people will be able to follow. And that is why it leaves Uhuru with no option. But look at how to manage these two people. How to manage Ruto, and how to manage Raila Odinga.
For a succession.
For a succession, very beautiful. For a succession to be peaceful.
Yeah.
It is not the other people you are seeing coming in together. Now, another question, Nick. They were left out to form that coalition. How far have they gone? How come now?
The coalition is just in its formative stages, really. We know we can't judge them harshly.
We are not judging them. We are not judging. We are only saying you did see what happened in the BBI. And what Julius just told you, when we allowed them to form it, then we lost Baringo. But we didn't lose any other. Why? Because it means that if we are talking about Mudavadi, we are talking about Mheshimiwa Waitangula, and then we are talking about Mheshimiwa Gideon Moi. As much as we have the Kenyattaism, Moism, the Odingaism, and now Ruto coming in as another force, but there is something that Moism still lack. And that's why I told you that the main principle that these people are looking at is 2027. It is not 2022. They need a transitional leader. And Uhuru Kenyatta must manage transition by looking very keenly on these two people. If he fails to look at Ruto, then he must look at Raila Odinga. If he fails to do that and is looking at the blue band, Mr. Support Me, it might be very difficult for them.
Well, I mean, blue band, that's your own analogy.
That is my own, because because media's creation.
Hold on, Mr.
Did you call it Cerelac?
Just hold on.
Did you call it Cerelac?
Wakili, in less than a minute, Uhuru's indulgence into the succession plan, what plays out now? What cards does he have? What does he do? Like he says, he's going to manage the succession well, because Kenya, there's Kenya after Uhuru Kenyatta, and him as a person also wants to see a better managed country after him. In your own in your own analysis, what should the president do now?
First of all, he's a human being.
Maybe in less than a minute.
Yeah, first of all, he's a human being. Any human being who's been there and who's had the power and who's been directing things in a certain manner wants them to continue in the way he's been directing them. Or he still wants to have some role to play while he's out there. So like my friend is saying, he has to manage and get to see whether some of these projects that were so keen to him, or some of these interests that were so keen to him, we will have somebody who is also keen in pursuing those directions or protecting them. And also there's also the real truth that while you are in power, you also get into conflict with so many people. Some of these things might end up to be legal issues. You also want to ensure that you don't get into some fights when you don't really have the power. You want, if possible, the transition should be peaceful and nobody should come after you. So yes, he has real interest to ensure that who gets to come into office after him, will he continue with the projects that he's pursuing? Will he give him some role to continue playing in this country? And what next for him and his people and the interests that they've always had.
So he's a key player in this succession.
He is a key player. And the real truth is also that as at the election day, he will be the president. To mean that whether you are the police, whether you are the military, whether you are any role in the executive, will still be answering to him until the day he hands over and says, I'm now giving the instruments of power to the new elected president.
As we conclude, JSC, Justice, Commission. I mean, Judicial Service Commission this week has been very busy, and we've seen a number of possible CJs coming up. We had Marete, we had Lady Justice Kome, we've had other people who've also, Mbote, and these other people. From a lawyer's point of view, what's your view about, what's the quality of the interviews that you see happening right now?
First of all, to be fair, is that all those candidates will not have been there if they didn't meet the minimum requirements. So let's first of all say that everybody who is being interviewed met the minimum requirements. Two, like I've said, it can only be one person who is selected as the CJ. So the GASC have to look at, does this person have the qualities to be the next CJ? They have to look at, does he understand the law? Does he understand our terms? Does he understand how the judiciary works? What are they keen on? What is their experiences? What ideologies do they believe in? And I think the interviews are trying to bring those out. They're trying to bring that, what is your history as Nick? What are you keen on? What capabilities do you have? Because I can tell you, you can be capable of writing wonderful judgments, but you lack capacity in administration or to lead or to inspire. Like you realize, this person is not only going to be somebody who will be writing good judgments in law. He will be dealing with other arms of the government, like parliament, like
Especially
the executive. The executive.
Yeah.
He will be dealing with the recruitment of judges. He will be dealing with the arising issues. So you have to ensure that the next person you put as the Chief Justice meets the qualities to guide and develop that institution and make it as independent as it can be.
Mr. Sutra, just your view of what happened. It's been interesting. You've been beamed live. We've actually watched. And what's your take as a citizen of this country? Are you happy so far with the process the way it's going?
I'm not a lawyer, but my opinion is from what we are calling the layman's take.
Yeah, of course, as a citizen.
The first thing that I wonder, and I hope Wakili will be able to explain, how the recruitment process was. Who shortlisted who to where? I'm talking about a specific case of yesterday where somebody has formally been looked upon by a doctor and found not to be fit mentally wants to become a Chief Justice of this country. I don't know how
that is not true.
That is, I don't think that is true.
That is not true.
I don't think that is true. Okay,
that is not true. That is not true.
Yeah, of course.
What I saw,
I think it's also true. That's not true because you can't provide evidence for that. That it's been found to be not good mentally.
There was a card. There was a card. Wakili can testify to the same. I don't lie. There was a card showing. And the card was held by one of the panelists. The panelist. That is showing that somebody is not.
No, I mean
the truth also. You know why this process and why they've ended up with those candidates. That one, Kenyans were invited to apply. Meaning, if you meet those requirements, you apply. Two, Kenyans were told to send submissions. Like, for example, if you are a medical doctor and you know that Nick has mental issues, then you are supposed to put it in writing and say that I don't think this person fits this capacity and all those. And yes, those are issues that are supposed to be told to the public. And I don't think there was any issue on those on those candidates.
On the second part,
yes.
Nick,
as you conclude, because we are time.
As I conclude, maybe just on the same part, which is the last part that we were touching on. I'm looking at a Chief Justice who will really maybe do better than the two that we have had since the new constitution. I don't want to make judgments on whoever has been brought on board, but I think Kenyans are looking at anybody who will work beyond Justice Mutunga, anybody who will work beyond Justice Maraga, and perfect whichever part that maybe they did not do properly. If they failed in one way or the other, whoever is coming in needs to be a better person. Okay. We are yet to wait if maybe they will finish, then we'll be able to talk as a public that they gave us somebody who, in the eyes of the public, not in the eyes of the legal experts, in the eyes of the public, passed
Fits the bill.
The bill.
What actually caught your imagination over the week in just 5 seconds?
What caught my imagination over the week is the extension of the curfew orders and
Wow.
how the government is not listening to people who are in distress, people who are unable to meet their daily needs because either their businesses are down or their employments have now been suspended. And I think that the silence of the government is actually not helping. In as much as we have a situation in our hands called Corona, but I think the government just needs to address that. There are things you cannot run away from forever. Other countries have been able to look at how do these measures and directives we put, how do they affect the common mwananchi, how do they affect households, and how do we move from here, even though all of us have to sacrifice. How do we sacrifice and move from here?
Just in less than, honestly, 5 seconds.
Just
what caught your mind?
In 5 seconds, what caught my
Your mind, your eyes,
my eyes was still on the same judiciary. I only pray that they give us somebody who will be looking at justice. That is my prayer.
Well said, well said, well said, well said. It can be better than this. And as you've heard, these are ideas, these are thoughts of people who come from different fields, a literal expert and a lawyer. All of them either converging or conflicting at one particular point. This is the Cardinal Talk Show, and the essence of this program is to bring that. I hope we've been together. I hope we've been tweeting where possible. I hope you've been sending messages, SMSs on that hashtag line, and we will be handling these ones even as we go. Keep tweeting, keep communicating on our social media lines. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for having found time to be with us here. It's been wonderful having you along, and I hope next time when you call you upon, you will be coming without any much problems. To the viewer who's kept us company to this moment, thank you very much, and please, let's keep safe wherever we are. I've been your host this long. My name is Nick Okelo.